This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV.
This isn't about last night or what happened after dark. This is about the middle of the day moments where something small turns nuclear before you even finish your coffee.
One sentence, one reaction, one emotional spark, and suddenly the whole situation is on fire. Welcome to Freak Out Friday on Ask a Bee, because this one didn't just escalate, it got out of hand real fast.
Boss be rising, BBTV's igniting, turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss be rising, sky ain't even the ceiling when she hits go live, everybody feels it.
Howdy, howdy. Now listen, before we even get into these stories today, I need y'all to settle in for just a second, because Freak Out Friday is not just about people losing it, okay? It's not just about pointing and laughing and saying, oh, they crazy. No, we're talking about moments where something builds, something sits, something really stretches a person just a little too far, and then boom, comes out in front of everybody. And the reason this hits the way it does is because every single one of us has had that moment where we almost said something we probably shouldn't, and almost walked out of something we should have stayed in, almost reacted in a way that didn't match who we think we are, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. That moment where you feel it rising and you're like, okay, hold it together. And sometimes you do, and sometimes, well, baby, sometimes you don't. Okay. And the difference with these artists is not that they're more emotional, it's that they're more visible. When they hit that edge, it's not in your living room, it's not in your car, it's not in a private conversation, it's on stage in front of thousands of people, cameras rolling, clips ready to go viral before they even step off. So today, I don't want y'all just looking at what they did. I want you to sit in why it happened, what led up to it, what it feels like to be in a space where you're expected to perform no matter what's going on inside of you. Because that right there, that pressure, that expectation, that keep going no matter what energy, it'll push anybody if it sits long enough. Hi there, Tyson. How you doing? Happy to have you. So, yeah, we're going to talk about some moments today. We're going to talk or try and laugh a little. I'm not sure if I'm in the headspace for it, but we're going to shake our heads a little. We're going to look at it for what it really is. People hitting a limit. And look, limits don't care who you are, they show up anyway. So let's get started. Let's pull up this first one. We have Mr. Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Now listen, y'all, let me tell y'all something. Because this right here, this wasn't just a little oops, he lost his temper moment. No. This was one of those moments where you actually watch somebody hit a wall in real time, and you can feel it before it even fully happens, right? And if you've ever been pushed just a little too far on something you care about, then you already know the kind of energy I'm talking about. Because Green Day gets on that iHeartRadio stage. Everything is good. Everything is flowing. Crowd is locked in. Billy Joe is doing what Billy Joe does. And if you know anything about Green Day, they don't just perform, they command a stage. Like, he's not up there guessing, okay? He's not up there winging it. He knows exactly how to build that energy, how to pull a crowd in and take you somewhere and then bring you right back. And that takes control, real control. And here's where it starts to get messy, because you take somebody who operates like that and then you drop them into a situation where everything is timed down to the second. Every movement scheduled, every minute controlled by somebody not on that stage. And I don't know about y'all already, but already that's a setup. because creativity and stopwatch don't always get along. You feel me? So he's up there mid performance. Everything is still riding high. And then they hit him with it. They tell him he's got 1 minute left, just 1 minute. Now, hold on. Pause it right there because I need y'all to really sit in that for a second. 1 minute might sound like nothing to somebody watching from home. You might be like, okay, just wrap it up, right? But on stage, in the middle of a set, with that kind of energy going, that's like somebody walking into your conversation and saying, you got 5 seconds, finish your thought. Excuse me? No, ma'am. No, sir. That's not how that works. And you can see it in him. You can literally see the moment where it shifts because he pauses, and that pause right there, that's the crossroads. That's the moment where you either swallow it and keep it moving or you let it out. And baby, he let it out. And once he starts talking, once he starts calling it out, you can hear it. This is not just a minute. This is about respect. Okay. This is about being treated like you don't matter in a space where you know you matter. It's right in front of you in all these faces, right? And when he drops that line about not being some Justin Bieber act, like that can just be rushed off stage, right? Now, see, people love to grab that line and run with it, but that ain't really about Bieber, is it? That's about the feeling of being reduced, being boxed in, being told, we decide when you're done. And something about that just didn't sit right with him. It wouldn't with me either. No. And you can hear it in the way his voice changes. You can hear the control slipping just a little bit. And once that control starts to go, it don't come back easy. And now the whole energy of the room shifts because the crowd is like, wait, what's happening right now? The band is looking like, okay, we in this now. And instead of pulling back, instead of smoothing it over, he leans all the way in. And that's where the freak out really locks in because now it's not about finishing a song. It's not about keeping the show clean. It's about the moment. And when he grabs that guitar and smashes it down, listen, rock stars smashing guitars is not new. We've seen that before. That's not what makes this hit different. What makes this hit is that it didn't feel planned. It didn't feel like, okay, this is the dramatic ending. It felt like I'm done with this right now. And those are two very different energies. And y'all, you know the difference, okay? You can feel when something is part of the show and when something breaks the show. And this right here, this broke it. And now everybody's watching. Cameras rolling, clips about to go everywhere. And in that moment, he's not just Billy Joe performing. He's Billy Joe reacting. Not the best reaction either. And that's where it gets uncomfortable. I mean, I'd have been pissed too, y'all. Don't tell me when to quit. Don't tell me when to tell my fans to quit. It's all about the fans, ain't it? Now the conversation shifts from, wow, that was a great set, to what just happened. And let me tell you, people, they had opinions, okay? They had opinions. Some folks said it was unprofessional. Some folks said it was rock star behavior. And others, they said, well, he's always been like that. Yeah. And then you got the other side that looked at it and said, nah, something else is going on here. And that's where it shifted for me. Because when you look at that, what happened afterwards, when you see that he went into rehab shortly after this, now you can't look at it at that moment the same way. Now it's not just a man mad about a minute being cut. Now it's a man who was already dealing with something, already carrying something. And that 1 minute, pardon me, that was just the thing that tipped it over. And see, that's the part people don't always think about. We love to judge the moment. We love to clip it, replay it, laugh about it, shake our heads. But we don't ask, what led up to it? Because don't nobody go from 0 to that over a minute. That don't even make sense. Something was already there, something already building, and that moment just gave it somewhere to land. And if you've ever been in a place like that, where you've been holding something in just way too long, you already know how that works. It doesn't take much. It takes one little thing, one wrong moment, one bad timing situation, and everything you've been holding just comes all out at once. And it might not even look like what it really is. It might look like anger. It might look like attitude, but underneath it, that's pressure. That's exhausting. That's being stretched too thin for far too long. And now it's spilling out where everybody can see it. And that's why this moment right here hits different because, yeah, it was a freak out. No question about it. But it wasn't random. It wasn't just, oh, he lost it for no reason. BS. This was layered. This was built up. It was something that had been sitting there waiting for the right or wrong moment to come out. And baby, when it did not come out quietly. And that's what makes this such a freak out Friday moment, because it reminds you that even people who look like, they've always got it together, even people who have been doing something for years, who know how to perform, who know how to hold it down, they've got a limit too. And when you hit that limit, it don't always look pretty. Sometimes it looks like this: loud, messy, public, and impossible to take back. And the real question is not, why did he do that? The real question is, how long was he holding it together before that moment finally broke it? Because that right there, that wasn't the start. That was the release. Big deal. Big difference, Nope. So it's been a day for me already, y'all. All right, let's get into... that's the wrong one too. Pardon me. I'm not sure what I'm doing here today. Apparently not the right thing, but I think I got it now. All right, we're going to start with our next one. And here we go. Courtney Love. Oh, remove that mess. Yeah, here we go again. Sorry, my day is just a day. So now this one right here. You ever see somebody walk into a situation, you just know it's about to go left before they even open their mouth? Like the energy shifts, the words even before they come out. That's Courtney Love. And I need y'all to understand, because people love to label her as chaotic, and just leave it there, right? But no, there's layers to this, because when you talk about Courtney Love, pardon me, especially during those award show moments, those stage interruptions, the wait, did she just do that situations, you're not just talking about somebody acting out for attention. You're talking about somebody who does not respect the boundaries everybody else agreed to follow. And that right there is where the tension lives, because you've got this environment, these awkward shows, everything is polished, everything is controlled. Everybody knows when to walk, when to talk, when to smile, when to clap. It's a whole system, right? And then here comes Courtney, and she just doesn't care. And that's not always a comfortable thing to watch, because when Madonna was on stage doing her thing, calm, composed, very much in control of her moment, Courtney shows up in the background throwing things, calling out, interrupting, and you can see it immediately. Madonna's like, what is happening right now? And the crowd is caught between laughing and being confused. And here's the thing that makes this a freak out Friday moment. I mean, come on, y'all. When she walked up there, you expected them to start scrapping. Seriously. It's not just one action. It's the refusal to fall back. It's the insistence on being a part of something that wasn't hers in that moment. And that's where it gets messy because now you've got two different energies clashing on one stage. You've got control versus unpredictability, structure versus I'm going to do what I want to do. And when those two things meet, something's going to give. And in this case, and it's the moment itself that gets taken over because now instead of focusing on what Madonna is talking about, everybody's watching Courtney. Everybody's reacting to Courtney, and that's where the conversation splits because some people are like, that's rude, that's disrespectful, that's not her moment. And others are like, well, that's just Courtney, that's how she is. Now we've got a bigger question sitting in the middle of all this. Because at what point does personality become disruption? And at what point does disruption become something deeper than just that's how she acts? Because if you really look at it, this wasn't a one-time thing. This was a pattern. This was repeated behavior, showing up in spaces and pushing against the expected way of doing things. And you've got to ask yourself, self, is that confidence? Is that rebellion? Or is that something unraveling in front of everybody? And we just didn't call it what it was at the time because it's easy to laugh. It's easy to say, oh, she's wild. No, don't mind her. But when it keeps happening, when it becomes the thing people expect from you, now you're not just breaking moments, you're defining yourself by those breaks. And that's where it gets heavy because now you're not in control of the narrative anymore. The narrative is controlling you. And let me tell you something. Once people decide who you are in their minds, it is harder to pull that back because now every time you step into a room, they're waiting on you to do something. They're watching you for the next moment. And that pressure right there, that'll make anybody act out even more. She's rebellious because now you're either trying to fight the label or live up to it. And neither one of those is a peaceful place to be. And you can't see that tension in those moments. You can see it in the way she interacts, the way she inserts herself, the way she refuses to just stand back and let something be what it is. And that's where I want y'all to really think about this because we love to talk about freakouts like they come out of nowhere, like they just happen. But most of the time, they're built. They're patterns, they're habits, they're ways of responding that have been reinforced over and over again until they become second nature. And now you're not even thinking about it. You're just doing it. And everybody else is reacting to it. And that's what makes this such a strong Freak Out Friday story because it's not clean. It's not one moment you can wrap up with a bow. It's messy. I love my messy. It's layered. It's uncomfortable because you're watching somebody push against a system that is designed to keep everything smooth. And in doing that, she becomes the disruption, the thing people remember, not the performance, not the speech, but the interruption. And that right there, that's power in a strange way. Because even when it's negative, it's still attention, isn't it? It's still focus. It's still control over where people are looking. And that's why you've got to ask yourself, was this really about the moment she stepped into? Or was it about needing to be seen in a space that wasn't centered on her? Because those are two different things. And when you really sit with it, you start to see that this wasn't just a freak out for the sake of it. Okay. It was somebody who refused to play by the rules in a space where everybody else had already agreed to them. And when you break that kind of agreement publicly, in front of cameras, in front of audience, in front of an industry that thrives on control, You're not just causing a scene, you're creating a ripple that people are going to talk about long after the moment is over. And that's exactly what happened here, because we're still talking about it to this day, still trying to figure out where the line is between bold, disruptive, and completely out of pocket. And baby, let me tell you, depending on who you ask, that answer changes every single time. You know it does. All right, let's go on with our next. If I can get things loaded up correctly this time. Yes. Scott Weiland, Stone Temple Pilots, and Velvet Revolver. All right, now hold on. Because this right here is not loud in the same way as the last two. This one is different. That sounded Texan. This is that slow, comfortable kind of freak out where you don't get one big explosive moment. You get a pattern. You get a build. You get that feeling in your chest like something is off, but nobody wants to say it out loud just yet. And you know what? If you've ever watched somebody slowly lose their footing while everybody around them keeps trying to hold it together, then you already know exactly what kind of energy Scott Weiland brought into those later performances. Because let me tell y'all something. This man was not just some random front man. This is Stone Temple Pilots. This is Plush. This is Interstate Love Song. This is a voice and a presence that defined a whole sound. So when you see somebody like that step on stage and something feels different, it hits different. There I go again, different. Because you're not just watching a show, you're watching a shift. And that's where this story really lives, because it wasn't one night where everything just went left, right? Correct? That was silly. It was multiple moments, multiple shows, showing up late, missing cues, slurring words, forgetting lyrics. And I need y'all to sit with this part, okay? Because forgetting lyrics as a lead singer, baby, that's not small. That's not a little oops. That's the foundation of the whole thing starting to crack. And when that starts happening, you can feel it in the room. The band feels it. The crowd feels it. Even if they don't fully understand what's going on, there's that tension, that hesitation. Wait, wait, what just happened? Those moments. The thing about Scott Weiland is he had this way of performing where he could be loose. He could be unpredictable. He could move around the structure a little bit and it still felt like art. But when the line gets crossed, when it stops feeling intentional and starts feeling like something's slipping, now the energy changes. Now it's not exciting, it's concerning. And that's where the freak out shifts from loud to quiet, because nobody's smashing guitars, nobody's yelling at the crowd, but something is still breaking right there in front of everybody and the band. Oh, the band, because this is where it gets real. Because they're up there trying to hold it together, trying to keep the music tight, trying to carry the performance when the front man, the person who is supposed to be leading the whole thing, is not fully there. And you can only do that for so long before it starts affecting everything, before the frustration builds, before the conversations start happening behind the scenes. And that's exactly what happened, because eventually it got to a point where the band had to make a decision. And that decision was to let him go. I'm so glad you found your people. I love Stone Temple Pilots. Yep, me too. So that decision was definitely to just let him go. And now you've got to pause right there, because getting fired from your own band, the band you helped build, the band your voice helped define, that is not a career move. That is a personal break. It's something that hits identity and purpose, everything tied to who you are. And I've even got Scott as my, all right, right on, y'all. That's great. I'm so glad you're here. Share your stories. I love it. Tell me more. So now you've got this public narrative forming around you. People talking, people speculating, people judging. And here's the thing that makes this such a powerful Freak Out Friday story, because it forces you to look at what a freak out actually is. Because we like the loud ones, right? We like the ones we can clip and replay and say, look at that. But this is the kind that stretches out over time. This is the kind where you look back and realize the signs were there long before the final moment. And that's the part that sits heavy, because how many people saw it and didn't say anything? How many moments were brushed off as he's just being himself? And how many times did it get labeled as personality instead of something deeper going on? And you can feel that tension when you watch those performances, because there's this push and pull between who he was at his peak and who he was in those moments. And it's not clean. It's not easy to watch. But you're seeing flashes of brilliance mixed with signs of struggle. And that combination right there, that'll mess with you. Right on. Saw them twice. Man, I wish I could have seen them. I do. Life happens though, right? But that'll mess with you, because you don't know which version you're going to get from one moment to the next. And that unpredictability becomes the story. It becomes the thing people talk about instead of the music itself. And that's where it gets real uncomfortable, because now the focus has shifted. Now it's not about the art, it's about the condition of the artist. And when you reach that point, when people are watching you, not just to hear you, but to see if you're okay, you've crossed into a different kind of space. And that's what makes this freak out a moment, because it's not contained. It's not one moment you can wrap up and move on from. It's a series of moments that build. It's something bigger, something heavier, that eventually forces change, whether you're ready for it or not. And that's the part that hits, because when you look at Scott Weiland's story, you're not just looking at somebody who lost control one night. You're looking at somebody who was fighting something over time, something that showed up in pieces until it couldn't be ignored anymore. And when it finally reached that point, when the band stepped back and the separation happened, that wasn't the beginning of the problem. That was the result of it. And that's why this one sits a little different, because it reminds you that not all freakouts are loud. Sometimes they're quiet. Sometimes they're gradual, but some of them happen in slow motion right in front of you, while everybody is trying to act like everything is fine. And then one day, it's just not. Once I Unplugged, that was my favorite, but the rocked out, I'm sorry, I can't see it. I need my glasses on. That was my favorite, but the rocked out with their live show. So sad he died the way he did. Addiction sucks. I'm a recovering alcoholic. 8 years sober. Well, congratulations, Russ. Seriously. I think there's a lot of us out here. We've had some addictions, and I can definitely say I'm 6 years. So congratulations to both of us, right? And I am sad for how he left us. I mean, what an artist, right? What a voice. What a mind when it was clear. I can't imagine what the industry does to people like that, I know it's not just the industry's fault. I'm not blaming them solely. I'm just saying that a lot goes on out there, right? Well, I'm really glad you're here, and I hope this doesn't scare you away, but I'm fixing to play my song because I have to take a quick little break. I shall return with 2 more artists. Oh, no, don't worry about the typing, man. Your typing is just fine. I got you. I'll be right back, though.
She came from the quiet storms, built a fire from the ground, turned a whisper to a warning. Now her voice shakes the town. Every setback was a lesson, every doubt became a key, unlocking something bigger. That's the rise of Boss B. When the lights go low, her vision hits high. She built a whole damn network off a promise and a try. Every sunrise, every moment, she's stacking legacy. This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's the queen of the comeback, the storm in the stream, crafting stories out of heartbeats, making visions out of dreams. Got thunder in the hustle, got a voice that cuts clean. Every mic she touches turns the power unseen. So let Bertha spin the numbers, let the views rise slow or fast. Boss B doesn't measure wins by echoes of the past. This moment is a pivot, this season's history. Bow down to the founder of the BBTV dynasty. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's got fire in the head, it's got truth in the frame, got a heart that won't retire and a gift you can't name. Every loop, every letter, every dream she sets free, it's a love note to the world sign. Boss B. And the world keeps watching as the numbers climb, but she's counting all the moments, not the dollar signs. From the late night grind to the daylight scene, she's building something bigger than the algorithm's dream. Boss B rising, BBTV shining, her story's rewriting, a legacy in real time. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. BBTV, where the stories breathe. BBTV, where the dreamers believe. Boss B rising, watch her take her place. This is BBTV, this is her grace.
All right. If you're still hanging out with me, I appreciate you so very much right now. Thank you. Thank you. Just listen to the song Atlanta, captures his true soul. I agree. I love that song. And thank you for the congrats. Yeah. You know what? Hey, we got this, right? All right. I'm going to get into my next artist here. Let's see here. And we have, I believe, here. Nope, that was the wrong one. Sorry. Here we go. Wes Scantlin, Puddle of Mud. Now listen. Come in close for this one because this right here. This is what that kind of freak out that makes your stomach tighten up while you're watching it. Okay, like you don't even know what to do with yourself because it's not loud in a throw something, break something kind of way. It's quiet in the worst way. It's slow, it's unfolding, and you can feel something slipping before it fully falls apart, right? And if you've ever sat somewhere and watched something go wrong in real time and nobody could stop it, you already know this feeling. Because Wes Scantler from Puddle of Mud gets on stage, and on paper, everything should be fine, right? This is not a new artist. This is not somebody who just got here yesterday. This is Blurry. This is She Hates Me. This is somebody who has stood on stages before and delivered. So when something feels off, it hits different. There I go, different. Y'all excuse my Texas accent. I can't help it. So because you know what it's supposed to look like, and that's where this whole thing starts, because it doesn't start with a big explosion. It starts with something small, a missed lyric. And at first, you might not even catch it. You might think, okay, maybe I misheard that, right? But then it happens again and then again. And now it's not a slip, it's a pattern. That's when the energy in the room starts to shift because now the crowd is listening differently. Now they're not just enjoying the performance, they're paying attention, right? They're trying to figure out what is going on. And let me tell you, that is not the kind of attention you want on stage. And y'all, this is where it gets real uncomfortable because the band, oh, they feel it too. Because while he's missing lyrics, while he's drifting, they're still playing. They're still locked into the structure, trying to hold the song together. And you can almost feel that invisible tension between them. Keep going. And what is happening right now? And that right there, that pressure, it's now not just you up there. It's everybody depending on you to hold your part. And when that part starts slipping, everybody sees it, feels it, and instead of catching it, instead of pulling it back together, it keeps sliding. Words are slurring, timing is off, and now the crowd is fully aware that something is not right. And you know that feeling, that secondhand embarrassment that, oh no, baby, please get it together. And you're rooting for them while also realizing it's not getting better. It's getting worse. And then it shifts again because now it's not just the music, it's the interaction. And instead of connecting with the crowd, instead of pulling them back in, there's frustration, snapping. There's this defensive energy that comes out. Like he's reacting to them instead of performing for them. And that is a dangerous place to be on stage because once you flip that relationship, once the audience stops feeling like they're part of the moment and starts feeling like they're part of the problem, everything changes. And you can see it in those moments. You can hear it in the tone. And now the band is still playing. The crowd is still watching, but the connection, darling, that connection is gone. And once it goes, the whole thing starts to fall apart. And this is where I need y'all to really sit in it because then comes the moment, the walking off. Okay. And I don't mean a clean thank you, good night. I mean leaving mid-performance, leaving the song hanging, leaving the band up there like, okay, now what? And that right there, that is the kind of moment that sticks because it's not just a mistake. It's not a bad note. It's abandonment of the moment itself. The crowd is left standing there. The band is left standing there. And you can feel that emptiness, that confusion, that did that really just happen? And what makes it heavier is that it just wasn't one time. It became something people started to expect. And that's where it gets real, because once people start showing up, not for the music, but to see if you're going to fall apart, you've crossed onto a completely different space. Now, you're not being watched for your talent, you're being watched for your struggle. And that's a hard place to come back from, because now every performance carries that weight. Every time you step on stage, people are wondering which version of you they're going to get. And I mean, who wants to pay for that, right? That's unpredictability. That's not exciting anymore. That's concerning. And look, here's where I want y'all to slow down with me, because it's easy to laugh at clips like this. It's easy to say, what is he doing? But when you really look at that, when you really watch it without the jokes, you start seeing something else. You start seeing somebody who is not fully present in a place that requires you to be completely there. And that disconnect shows up every single time, because you cannot fake being present on stage. You cannot fake that connection. And when it's not there, everybody feels it. The band feels it, the crowd feels it, and eventually you feel it too. And that's where this stops being just a freak out and starts being a pattern, because this wasn't one bad night. This was multiple moments adding up, multiple signs that something deeper was going on, something affecting consistency, affecting the ability to do the one thing that put you on that stage in the first place. And when it reaches that point, when the stage itself becomes the place where everything starts to fall apart, that's when you know it's bigger than the moment. And that's why this one sits so heavy, because you're not just watching a performance go wrong. You're watching the place that's supposed to be someone's strength turned into the place where their struggle is most visible. That's not something you fix overnight. That's not even something you laugh off and move on from. That's something that follows you, something that shapes how people see every time you step out. And the real question sitting underneath all of this is not why did he mess up that performance? It's what's going on that made it impossible for him to hold that moment together. Because nobody walks on stage planning to fall apart. Nobody steps into that space wanting to lose control. But when something deeper is happening, when something is pulling you or at you behind the scenes, it shows up. It shows up in the lyrics. It shows up in the timing, in the way you respond to people. And eventually it shows up in the moments like this, where every single thing that's supposed to hold you up doesn't anymore. And baby, that right there, when that happens in front of a crowd with nowhere to hide, that's not just a bad performance. That's a freak out Friday moment you can't take back. Seriously. He's a good guy. I mean, I didn't get through his pictures either, but here I go. All right, let's get into this final. You're going to love this one. I just know it, because he's everywhere, right? You'll see. Yep. The boy. The boy. I'm sorry. I didn't get it here. Why did we not change? Thank you. That's not what you're doing. I'm sorry. 1 second, please. That is not what I was looking for. Okay, you know what? We're not going to do Justin. I'm just having a day. Y'all have to forgive me here. I'm not quite sure what happened to Justin. He was here, I swear. It's just a bad day for me, and I'm going to be totally honest here. I wasn't in the headspace to do this in the first silly place, so I'm not quite sure why I did, but we try and we get through these moments because they are rough. They are very rough. And sometimes I don't get quite through it. Maybe. And now I'm stuck. Really? Okay, hold on. I think we've got it now. Lovely. Sorry about that. No clue why that happens. All right, let's just do this. Now, let me tell you, Justin Bieber. I probably lost all 5 of you. This one right here, it hits a little different because it don't look like a meltdown at first. It looks like frustration. It looks like attitude. Like he's just being difficult. And that's exactly why people missed what was really going on in the moment. Because when you talk about Justin Bieber walking off stage, canceling meet and greets, and uh snapping back at fans, you've got to remember who you're talking about. This is not just any artist. This is somebody who grew up in front of the entire world. Like literally grew up from teenager to adult. Every move watched, every mistake magnified, every reaction turned into a headline. And baby, that kind of pressure does not just sit quietly. That builds and it stacks. And you know what? That waits for somewhere to go. And the stage. The stage is usually where artists release that energy in a controlled way. But what happens when that control starts slipping? What happens when the space that is supposed to be your outlet becomes another source of pressure? And that's exactly what you're watching in those moments where he just stops. Because one of the biggest things people remember is when he walks off stage mid-performance. And at first people were like, "Oh, he's being dramatic. He just can't handle it." But hold on, slow down. Because you've got to look at what led up to that. And all the speculations right now. We're not even going to get into that mess. Because in that particular situation, the crowd was not just enjoying the show, they were screaming over him, drowning him out, turning the performance into noise instead of connection. And now you've got an artist standing there trying to perform, trying to engage. And instead of being heard, he's being overridden by the very people who came to see him. And that right there, that's frustrating on a level people don't always understand. Because yes, fans are excited. Yes, they love you. But if you can't do your job, if you can't actually perform, then what are we doing here? And you can see that moment where it shifts, where he tries to talk, tries to calm it down, tries to back it, bring it back. And when it doesn't work, when the crowd keeps going, he just stops. And then he walks off. And that walk off right there, that's the freak out. It wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive, but very clear, very intentional, and very public. And now the crowd is standing there like, wait, what just happened? And the internet? Oh, baby, the internet had a field day. Because now he's ungrateful. He don't appreciate his fans. He's acting out. And here's where I need y'all to really sit with this one. Because we are real quick to judge how somebody reacts without asking what it feels like to be in that position. Because imagine trying to speak and nobody lets you. Imagine trying to do your job and the environment around you won't allow it. Having to smile through that over and over again because that's what people expect from you. And eventually something's going to give. And in this case, it gave in the form of him stepping away. And that's probably the cleanest freak out you can imagine. That wasn't the only time either, because you've also got the meet and greet situation. And, this one right here, this one had people talking because he canceled meet and greets saying they left him feeling drained and unhappy. And people were like, how are you going to cancel on your fans? They paid to see you. And yes, from the outside, that sounds wild. That sounds selfish. But let me tell y'all something, because this is where it gets real. When you are constantly giving pieces of yourself, constantly smiling, constantly engaging, being on for everybody else, that takes something out of you. And if you don't have a way to refill that, if you don't have boundaries, if you don't have space to just be a person, not an artist, not a brand, not a headline, a person. Eventually, you're going to hit a wall, and hard. And that wall don't care how famous you are. It doesn't care what your name is and how well you sing. It don't care how much money you make. It just shows up. And when it does, you're either going to keep pushing through it and break harder later, or it's going to, you're going to step back and deal with it in the moment. And that's what those actions were. Stepping back. But because it happened publicly, because it didn't fit the image people had of him, it got labeled as a freak out. And that's where this story gets interesting, because now you've got to ask yourself, what does a freak out actually look like? Does it have to be loud? Does it have to be messy? Or can it look like somebody saying, I can't do this right now, in a way that doesn't make everybody uncomfortable? Because that's what this really was. Discomfort. Fans uncomfortable, audience uncomfortable, because the expectation was that he would just keep going on no matter what. And when he didn't, when he chose himself in that moment, it broke the illusion. It broke the idea that entertainers are just there to perform on demand without limits. And baby, people don't always like when that illusion breaks. And that's why this sits right here on Freak Out Friday, because it forces you to look at the other side of these moments, not just what happened, but why it happened, and what it says about the pressure we put on people to always show up exactly how we want them to. Because at the end of the day, yeah, he walked off. Yeah, he canceled things. He reacted in ways people didn't expect. But underneath all of that, that was somebody hitting a limit. And instead of exploding, instead of breaking everything around him, he stepped away. Whether you agree with how he did it or not, you can't ignore what it represents. Because not every freak out is about losing control. Sometimes it's about realizing you're about to, and choosing to stop before it gets worse. And that right there, that's a different kind of moment. One people don't always understand until they've been pushed to that edge themselves. You know, it's true. I know y'all have been pushed to an edge somewhere, you know. Look at this poor kid. How many times do you think he's been pushed to an edge? I mean, how many edges do you think he sits on daily? It's incredible to think about what these artists go through in this industry. It's a hurtful thought, to tell you the truth. It makes you concerned about your favorites. But it is what it is, right? Nothing I can do about it for him, though I wish I could. But see, this is why Freak Out Friday always hits a little different for me, because it's easy to sit back and judge the moment. It's easy to say, I would never do that. It's easy to laugh at it when you're not the one standing in it. But after you hear those stories, after you really sit with what was happening underneath all of it, you start to realize something really quick. Everybody has a breaking point. It might not look like smashing a guitar. It might not look like walking off a stage. It might not look like arguing with a crowd, but it looks like something. And the only difference is most of us get to have those moments in private. They don't. And that's the part that shifts for me. Because when you're constantly being watched, constantly being expected to show up the same way every single time, that pressure doesn't just disappear, it builds. It stacks, and eventually it comes out of somewhere. So the real question isn't why did they freak out? The real question is, how long were they holding it together before that moment happened? Because that right there will tell you everything you need to know. And I want y'all to take that with you, not just about them, about yourself too. Because if you know you're getting close to that edge, if you can feel it building, don't wait until it explodes in a way you can't take back. Step back, speak up, take a breath, do something before it gets to that point. Because once it does, baby, it's out there and you don't always get to pull it back. All right. All right. That's Freak Out Friday. And you already know, guys, get over there, see my friends at Tuber Chat. Get over there and enjoy Iron Sharpening Iron Universe. And I will see you tomorrow night for Jukebox Journey, 8 p.m. Central, please. Tuber Chat. Buzz you later.
I want to take a minute to shout out Tuber Chat. If you're a creator who's tired of surface level advice, yet says, and actually wants to understand how YouTube works, that's the space. It's real conversations with real creators who are in the trenches, building channels, testing ideas. No posturing, no gatekeeping, no fake guru energy, just people sharing what's working, what isn't, and why.
If you're serious about growing, learning, and not doing this alone, check out Tuber Chat. The link is in the description. If you're enjoying this show, subscribing is the easiest way to support what's being built here on BBTV. You'll see the join button right next to subscribe. No pressure, no expectations, just an option for people who want to support the channel in a real way.
We're live every day at 3 p.m. Central now.
And don't worry, we didn't change the heat, just the clock. And if you've got a story you want to share, send it in. Anonymous is always fine.
Boss be right.